right temperature for you.
72 degrees.
Yeah.
It was a good quality whistle, but I wasn't really able to make out the song.
The
performance could have been better.
Hold on,
The instrument
let's clear out so we can see if stugotz can whistle today.
72
I told you guys the right weather.
not bad.
72 degrees, man. I'm
It's not
telling you.
bad.
It's not
Yeah.
good.
We
It's
found-
just he set the bar so low that him getting any kind of whistling sound off the ground is a triumph and an achievement.
I've always told you guys, right weather, okay? Not a tremendous amount of humidity, which there is not today. I can get a whistle out. You guys laughed at me. You called me a liar for very obvious and good reasons. I've earned that. But I told you guys on the right day, right temperature,
Is today
I
that
can
day?
whistle.
Is
Yep.
today that
temperature
day?
in here is usually the same.
I mean, that's pretty good for
I
me.
mean, it is a whistle. I can't dispute that it's better than what you've normally produced. Not the sound I was expecting to start this segment with. I owe you guys a bunch of sound from yesterday, so let's just go through this one after another. We claim that the crying Derek Carr, and Amin loves to laugh at criers. He loves to question Jonah Hill in therapy. Any vulnerability that's public, Amin is here to urinate on and mobilize his army of flying craps and direct them toward that area.
With no ego, I might add.
Right, with no ego. So let's play Derek Carr, and we will see if indeed he does sound like Elvis when he's sad.
I love Josh. I love the car. I love our coaches. They've had nothing but success. Way more success than I've ever had. And, I'm sorry.
Derek,
sorry.
Continue.
To finish that, sorry for being emotional. I'm just pissed off about some of the things, that a lot of us try and do just to practice. What we put our bodies through just to sleep at night.
Look out now.
And for that to be the result of all that effort.
To the root.
Pisses me off.
My doctor.
So mean. A guy cares deeply, and we do nothing but bury him. And if he doesn't care deeply enough, Stugotz will crush him.
Yep.
But let's hear how much that sounds like Elvis based on what we believe to be top 10 sound in the history of this show.
I got sick here that one night. I had 102 temperature. They wouldn't let me perform. From 3 different sources I heard I was strung out on heroin. I swear to God, hotel employees, Jack, bellboys, freaks that carry your luggage up to the room, people working around, talking, maids. And I was sick. I was getting, a doctor had the flu, and I got over one day. But all across this town, I was strung out. So I told him earlier, and don't you get offended, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to somebody else. If I find or hear the individual that has said that about me, I'm going to break your damn neck, you son of a bitch. That is dangerous. That is damaging to myself, to my little daughter, to my father, to my friends, my doctor, to everybody, my relationship with you, my relationship with us on the stage. It is dangerous. I will pull your damn tongue out with the roots. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Soon thereafter, he died of a drug overdose. As defensive as Chris Cote when accused of farting. Because it was true. Let's play the sound as well. This is true as well because Greg Cote is furious with his son. His son helps produce the Greg Cote podcast featuring Greg Cote.
And the running theme here is that whenever my dad, because he'll do this, he's like, oh, I got something to talk about. And he'll just read a headline and have nothing else to bring to it. So it's a running theme on our show that when he does that, I call him Lester Holt. And sometimes that can trigger him.
Lester Holt. Wait a minute.
That's a great name.
But Lester
I love
Holt.
Lester Holt.
Lester Holt was a sound machine. He was song when it came. I'm just when he was broadcasting. I think he's retired.
No, he's still going.
He's still the host of the
He's
NBC
still-
Evening News.
Yeah, and he reports the news and he reads headlines like my dad does on the Greg Cote Show.
And Dateline, yeah.
You know what just happened there? I confused Lester Holt with the guy at ESPN that was Lester Munson.
Oh.
How?
I don't. The
He was a legal analyst.
What do you mean? How do the Lester is what got me.
You're not making Lesters anymore. Huh?
it's very clearly stugotz. I mean, I think we understand how that happened. Now, we can both say that's an idiot thing to happen, but I think we understand how it happened. I haven't known a lot of Lesters. Let's play. What is the sound what is the context that we have to give this sound? Because people think you're an asshole to your father. People side with your father consistently.
This is actually an example where he wins because he brings up a topic. I immediately dismiss it, thinking that's all he has. Call him Lester Holt, and then he goes into a minute rant of ripping me and giving what he had on it, which is actually more than I thought. So he ends up being right here. But just know, I have a lot of history where he just says something, and this is his move. Well, this happened. Blah blah blah. This happened. I found that interesting. And that's his move. He found that interesting. And it's just like, all right, now you guys go. I said the headline. I found that interesting.
Yep.
And then he looks at us and it's just like, I didn't even know you were bringing that up. And now it's on me to make that interesting. And it's like, so that's the theme. That's like a little foundation for this.
This is the source of your resentment, why it is that you hammer your father. He did not want to air any of this. He wanted it taken out of the podcast. Right. You, of course, betrayed him and left it in the podcast.
Well, it's just good because it's genuine fury.
And then got mad at me on Tuesday when we ran out of time to play it.
He has been very torn and conflicted the entire time I've known him. He would get mad because they wouldn't send him, the Miami Herald wouldn't pay to send him to Buffalo, and then would get mad when the Miami Herald would pay to send him to Buffalo.
Can't win with that guy.
No, I mean, it's just, this has been my entire life with your father, is just seeing him be aggrieved from whatever the angle is that we come at. He did not want this aired. And then he calls me complaining on Wednesday, why haven't you guys aired that to promote the podcast? So here it is, Greg Cote Show featuring Greg Cote.
Oh. I got a lot of topics left.
What?
Okay, Gallagher just died. We could talk about greatest prop comics ever.
Okay, we could probably save that one for another day. Okay. Lester Holt over here about to tell us that Gallagher died. All right.
Can I say something? I don't like the Lester Holt reference.
Then have thoughts.
Like that.
Then have thoughts on a topic when you bring it up.
How about my thought is one of the most famous prop comics in the world died a minute and a half ago, and I'm suggesting maybe we talk about who are the greatest prop comics. Why is that being Lester Holt? I'm not reporting that Gallagher died.
Who are the good prop comics?
Well, he mentioned Carrot Top. Steve Martin.
Also,
a lot of people don't remember that Steve Martin began as a prop comic. The first time I ever saw Steve Martin, nobody even knew he was a future actor yet. He played the banjo, and he came on stage with a arrow through his head. That's how much of a prop comic he was. I mean, he was an A-level prop comic when he first started. But I'm just being Lester Holt, so I don't want to talk about that because apparently you're not pleased by it, goddammit. So we move on, asshole. Edit all that out.
No, you actually had something there.
Okay, you didn't give me the chance to have it. But every time I say something that sounds like I'm playing off the news, you're like Lester Holt.
Lolt.
Exactly. Lolt.
What a show.
Oh, my God.
I also love that he did the full Steve Martin. He came out with an arrow through his head. Like, we haven't been doing that cultural reference for 7 years on this program. The entire time in which Greg Cote has been on this program.
Next week, we're talking to the guy that fries toenails.
Oh.
We're bringing this shit up again, man.
Oh,
Damn.
my God. Well, I just threw up in my mouth.
Moss, Miami. You can see the toenail. I saw the case that Angel's designing.
God.
The black.
I saw a picture. For some reason, because of this interview we're doing, I got a picture of the toenail yesterday. It is just, oh, God, it's getting worse.
lebatard.com. Only costs you $40 to see the black toenail.
Oh, my God.
As an enraged argument sentence, can we please get off the ground an indignant response of spitting at someone? Why is that being Lester Holt? Your enraged father just screaming fury at you because the greatest insult that you can hit him with is he's Lester Holt.
You should call him Lester Munson next time.
How could that have happened to me?
I don't know.
Such a great name. Like, he could have said Pierce Morgan. He could have said Anderson Cooper. Like, no. Lester Holt is the one that.
I don't think of any opinions from him. I think of just here's the news.
Yes.
Here's the facts.
He's as
it up
right down the middle as you can get. Right, just zero kind of feeling one way or another of leanings or anything like that. Lester Holt, I can trust that Lester Holt is just going to give me some bland vanilla. Just read it.
When is Lester Holt at his most loose?
Oh man.
When he's out covering a hurricane and he's not wearing a blazer.
He's still covering hurricanes?
Yeah, no, they send him out
throw
there.
Him out there once in a while.
They send him out there for natural disasters to do the evening news, and you don't see him wearing a suit. He's got kind of like that denim button up. It's like, whoa, Lester, calm down, man.
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatardShow. Are we still making Lesters? You mentioned Anderson Cooper. One of the trending news items yesterday was that CNN New Year's Eve is getting rid of booze.
Bullshit.
That interested you.
Bullshit.
Yeah. I found that interesting.
New Year's Eve is doing what?
I hate that, by the way.
New Year's Eve is not doing anything.
Yes.
Okay. CNN.
New Year's Eve will remain the same.
Stugotz, yes. New Year's Eve is
still
dry.
drink?
New Year's Eve is not being canceled. People can still drink on New Year's Eve. But Whittingham was saying that CNN is getting more and more antiseptic. CNN is taking out all of the personality. They're draping everything in Lester Holt, and now they are taking booze out of their New Year's Eve broadcast.
As I've gotten older, that's become my New Year's tradition, is just sitting at home, watching TV. I used to be a guy, go out, have some fun. Now it's just, I got a kid, it's just sit at home, flip back and forth between all the main channels, watch the New Year's Eve entertainment. I know, Tony, you're looking at me, I can feel your judgment. It's just my life now.
It happens.
You sit at home and just watch
it's
TV?
Honestly delightful. I've
is.
enjoyed it. It's not as, it's just relaxing. I go out, I buy a bunch of stuff, I cook good food, I got champagne, we're watching good stuff, cheers with the wife. I don't know, it's just simple, and I enjoy it.
Yeah,
but my favorite part of it is Anderson Cooper, Andy Cohen doing shots at the top of every hour, and then they once midnight comes, they turn it over to Don Lemon, and he's just hammered when they start.
Yeah.
Like, honestly,
he's pre-gaming. You're
it's
right.
fun.
Yeah.
I am genuinely upset, and I don't know which one I'm going to watch the most now on New Year's Eve if they're drinking less.
Tony is disgusted by you, as I imagine a lot of young people are, although probably not more disgusted than old people were yesterday during Amin's conversation about what classifies as oldies music these days, because our show has rarely sounded flimsier than saying that Hanson is oldies music.
It's not?
No. I am curious if 102.7 oldies, is that still around?
No, it's the beach now.
It's the beach.
I mean, but they play 70s and 80s music all day. That's their playlist.
I just remember driving around to that with my dad, and it was like this music that I was like, what is this music? And I would be curious what that station would sound like today. I would feel like it'd still sound the same. It'd still be Beatles and stuff. I don't think
No,
They play 80s
The Beatles
now.
are gone. The Beatles are gone. It's,
No.
So they're playing the Cars? They're playing Genesis? Is that what they're playing now?
Oldies? Older than that.
I think
Or
they're playing
younger
80s.
than that. Younger
They're
than
playing
that.
80s stuff. Like, that's where I think the oldies, when we were talking about it yesterday,
Like
that to
Bowie?
me, yeah, like
yeah.
Doctor by the Thompson Twins is what I think of as oldies.
Like Bowie is a great shout. I feel like "Let's Dance" by David Bowie is like, for me, like the seminal oldie song right now.
That song to me is 4 a.m. at the casino when it's time to go home.
Great shout.
I don't know. I think we're getting to the point where early 90s is getting old school. Like New Jack Swing. That sounds old school now.
Yeah.
Let me say this, though. You are not an oldie station unless you're blasting out Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Foreigner.
you're
not.
right.
Thank
Absolutely.
You. Thank you.
Well, it's not surprising that Stugotz would say that his definition of oldies is for everybody, and that's what the only definition of oldies can be. But you are going old man perspective on old music that we listened to growing up. And what Amin is here to tell you is it's changed now. There have been enough generations. Your opinion doesn't get to matter as much as the other opinions because there are more the other opinions out. This is how it gets said that 60s on 6 and 70s on 7 and 50s on 5 disappears from Sirius XM because the demographic dies.
Yeah, there's no one listening to those stations anymore, man.
It's all about the 80s, boys.
I just pulled up our
80s.
our oldie station here in South Florida, and they're currently playing "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" by Tears for
Tears.
Fears.
That's a good song.
That's an
Great
oldie
song.
song right there.
That's
Real
an oldie.
genius.
That's
That's an oldie song, 1985.
you guys are doing oldies 85, and I really feel like yesterday you were pushing the conversation
90s.
to 90s is oldies music now.
Jessica yesterday, that's why when I had the topic on the topic sheet, I wanted it for a day when Jessica was here because I needed to find out where that line is. And when I asked Jessica, what's oldies? When I say oldies, what's a song? She said Nirvana. And I'm like, Nirvana's oldies? Like, Jesus Christ.
Feels like yesterday.
You know?
When I was watching the Dahmer thing on Netflix, there was music that was pumping out when he was at the club where I was like, ooh, what is this? And then I look it up and it was like 1994 and I was like, ooh, that sounded really old, and now it's not. It was like I was alive during that period.
It's funny when Last Dance came out. You know, they started, I can't remember what they started with, but they played, you know, it was 1986 and Jordan's about to play the Celtics in the playoffs and they played LL Cool J, I'm Bad. And every single kind of like goosebump on my body. And I was like, what's when music was music. It was such a huge nostalgia boost. Listening to oldies music, whatever your definition of it is, it just has this effect in that it makes you just feel superior to everything around you right now. Like
sugar, dun, 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 dun,
not that.
honey.
That's old.
That's oldies.
I don't know what that is, but that's old.
Girl. And you
got me.
Anytime he sings like Ethel Merman, that's old.
Well, wait a minute. Ethel Merman, that's a different. Yes, that's old to anybody. That's old. There's nobody who's saying Ethel Merman is not.
That's
old.
his one range, though, Dan. Like singing like Chris has Ethel Merman, and that's kind of it.
Ethel Merman, I always think about the scene in Airplane where you're at the military hospital and like, oh yeah, a lot of guys are, you know, PTSD or whatever. That guy thinks he's Ethel Merman. And then Ethel Merman just jumps out and starts singing. They grab her and take her away.
Chris Cote, put it on the poll, please. Are we still making Ethels?
No, we weren't making Ethels in the 80s.
Yeah, we stopped a while
We
back.
stopped a long time ago.
How do you feel about this? Because what they are saying is Foo Fighters, and you like Foo Fighters, Dan. That's oldies now.
I am disoriented by this part of it. If you're going to make 90s on 9 oldies, then you've made Jay-Z oldies. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, what are you doing?
Yeah. No, but I guess that's the part that I'm trying to figure out, Dan. When we were growing up, oldies was like what Chris. And so you even
honey.
You heard it and you heard something that was a bygone era. Like, oh, that's nothing that I listen to right now. That's something that they used to call music back in the 60s or whatever. But when I hear like Jay-Z, right? Money, Cash. Well, I can say Money, Cash, Hoes, right? All right, like I hear that song, I don't think, oh my God, that's a bygone era. I think, oh yeah, that's a song. You know, it seems contemporary in a way that oldies when I was growing up was not contemporary. Did not feel contemporary at all. We were having this conversation yesterday.
I was going to say that there's a differentiation in hip hop, at least, where you can tell by listening to a song when it was made, because the sounds, the rhythms, the way that people speak. Like, you're listening to Grandmaster Flash, you know it's 1980s, or like Eric B. and Rakim paid in full.
Like, I like to rap.
Exactly. There's a certain cadence that they have. But in the example that we were giving yesterday with Hypnotize, that's a song that could come out today and still matter. But Eric B. and Rakim paid in full. It doesn't translate.
So you guys are telling me that today, right? So 30 years from now, the music we're listening to today is going to be oldies music?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Exactly.
Yes.
Like
It
Drake
is.
will be oldies at that point.
Yes. Yes.
Migos is going to be oldies.
Migos
Rest
is going to be
in peace,
oldies. Yeah.
Amin just recreated 70s, 80s, 90s rap Grandmaster Flash by rubbing both of his hands, squeezing his face and his nose, and trying to sing through it.
You know,
Bit of a Humpty Dance kind of thing, too.
You were
Humpty
doing
Dance.
the human beatbox.
Yeah. Broken glass everywhere.
People pissing on the streets. They just don't care.
Get me the sound here, Whittingham, please, that we also didn't get to yesterday of Mad Dog Russo. This is just wonderful what has happened here, where it was on delay. There was a reaction to Jeff Saturday being hired as coach, but it waited to get to Cower and Rex Ryan and their indignance before it escalated. And now what you have is people getting mad about the thing that was said 3 days late about Jeff Saturday. So here's Mad Dog Russo flipping out on everyone who's being sanctimonious and really just it's emotional. It's weird to hear Rex Ryan and Bill Cowher be emotional on behalf of Jeff Saturday is not qualified to do the job I did.
How'd they do Sunday in Vegas? They were crisp. They were ready to play. They committed 4 measly penalties. They had a good drive in the fourth quarter. He played the right quarterback. He used his time management properly. He did not waste any timeouts. He didn't fart around with that stupid data, that analytical nonsense with the 23-year-old kid in a sprint bike with the freaking, John Carroll sweatshirt on. He went out there and he coached against Josh McDaniels, who learned at the feet of Belichick. Belichick, one of the all-time greats, there forever with Brady. He outcoached him. The Raiders were awful. And the Colts were crisp, raring to go, no penalties, fired up, happy to win for him. He hit the right notes in the 6 days. But somehow, someway, the great Bill Cowher, who got his job without working in Milwaukee. The great Bill Cowher is annoyed that Jeff Saturday got a head coaching job. It's an insult to the profession. Pipe down. Right? Pipe down. You know it's an insult to the profession? That you're walking in a CBS set and you never worked a day in your life anywhere else in broadcasting. Never a day. Never a day. Give Saturday credit. I thought it was I thought it was something different. What, we're going to put John Fox in? Haven't we seen enough of John Fox over the years? The same John Fox who drafted freaking Trubisky and traded up to get him? We're going to put him in there. You want to go look at Gus Bradley's resume as a head coach? Colin Russo's better than Gus Bradley. We're going to go look at him? I mean, calm down. Oh, that drove me freaking crazy all weekend long. I got to listen to Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas, hey, he's a hell of a football player. 100% doesn't make a great broadcaster. Gets these jobs with no experience, yet somehow Jeff Saturday can't go to... Played 13 years in the NFL. Won a championship. More than I can say for Thomas's Browns.
Oh, man.
Amazing.
There's so many clips in there. Pipe down.
Calm down.
Pipe down.
The Schwinn bike is the best, though.
Yeah.
That analytical nonsense with the 23-year-old kid in a sprint bike.
I thought he said shrimp for a second.
He was trying to say Schwinn. I promise you.
The dismissal of information. It is chef's kiss perfect that he would be on the right side of the argument today, yelling into a microphone about the idea of getting more informed, spitting at it, fart around with that data. Like,
fart around.
He's not. Saturday's going to go in there and he's not going to fart around with that data. And he got him with that one. Like that, you're not going to get drowned in numbers and information and analysis. You're just going to go out there and be Jeff Saturday.
It's so entertaining and so funny, but really his basic point is such a great point and one I haven't thought of. All these guys get broadcast. There are people working their asses off in tiny markets trying to get a broadcasting job, and in strolls Bill Cowher after a couple of years of coaching and takes everyone's job. I mean, it's such a great, with no experience.
And gets paid a lot for it, too.
Yes. Great
But the experience required to be that job is to have worked in the sport, right? It's to have known what it's like and communicate that to the viewer. They are bringing a qualification. It's a different qualification than broadcasting. Why are you just shouting John
Fox? Guy sucks.
I mean, Tom Brady is going straight from the playing field to the most lucrative broadcasting deal that we've seen in sports media. Like, people are going to be upset about it. I'm cool with it, but there are going to be people who have worked really hard saying, hey, how about my opportunity?
Belichick.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Moose Johnston is upset about that.
There you go.
He's Tom Brady. Like, it's just weird that the reaction to the reaction, which has been much stronger than the reaction, has been, I'm Chris Mad Dog Russo on behalf of unqualification. Like, I would like for all people to not have any qualifications whatsoever to do the job that they are being asked to do, but allowed to do it anyway because other people are bad at the job too.
Unqualified people can be good at the job.
Yeah, they can. Yeah. That's right.
We like talking to this guy about his books. He's written 10 of them. Barry Bonds, Brett Favre, the USFL, Sweetness, Walter Payton. He regrets a couple of them. I'm thinking it's Clemens and Favre most of all. But Bo Jackson is the latest.
He knows how to pick his athletes, though, and his stories. I mean, he really does.
Yes, he does. The Last Folk Hero, The Life and Myth of Bo Jackson. It is available now. Jeff, thank you for being on with us. How and why did you come about selecting this one? We've talked to you in the past about how you have to devote such an enormous investment to these topics once you've picked them. How did you pick this one?
Honestly, I'm very nostalgic about it all, sports and everything. And I was thinking after my last book was about the Shaq Kobe years, and I was thinking about I actually started thinking about my childhood room. I actually do that every now and then, and the posters I had hanging up in my room. And I had, Don Mattingly over here and Ricky Henderson over here and Michael Jordan here. But the big one hanging above my bed was the Bo Jackson poster with the shoulder pads and the baseball bat. And I just really started thinking that there's this guy and there's this mystique about him. And there hasn't been a definitive Bo Jackson biography. The only other book is his own autobiography from 1990. And I just thought the whole question mark hanging over Bo and the whole mythology about Bo sort of intrigued me enough to dive into it.
Which stories are true and which aren't true? Because there are a lot of mythical tales about his athleticism, some of which sound bogus.
All right, so the weird one that's not true is from his own book. And it was, he wrote that at Auburn, and this is almost like a negative, but he wrote that in baseball his freshman year, he went 0 for his first 21 with 21 straight strikeouts. And that story got repeated so often that I would call baseball teammates of his from Auburn. And they'd all say, he went 0 for 21, right? And 0 for 21. And I ended up getting all the box scores from all his games. And his first game was against Southern Illinois. He went 2 for 5, which is kind of weird that you would say he went 0 for 21. Then another one that's kind of weird is recently he's been telling sort of a story. I'm not saying he's lying. It's just I think he misremembers. But he was asked recently, I think by Rich Eisen, what's your greatest moment from your sports career? And he said it was I remember the exact date. It was 1990. It was July, whatever. We're hosting the Brewers, and I was up in my first at bat, and I took a call at strike 3, and I turned to yell at the umpire, and the umpire called me out, and he threw me out of the game, and I got thrown out deliberately so I could go be there for the birth of my daughter. And I thought, I don't know, that doesn't sound like it checks out. And I did a little digging, and they weren't playing the Brewers that day. He was never thrown out of a game that year. He wasn't even in the lineup that day. So I think sometimes you misremember the things that are true, among others. He did hit a baseball so high when he was in high school to shallow left field that by the time it came down, he was rounding third base. He did once jump over the hood of a Volkswagen. He did jump out of a pool in waist deep water onto the lip of the pool. He did climb up the wall like he did in Baltimore. When he was with the Royals, he also did that when he was playing in the minors in Memphis. And I can confirm that he did run over a linebacker named Brian Bosworth on Monday night.
But you would agree, if you're trying to set up your own story, 0 for 21, it's a better story, Jeff. It is.
Yeah, to be clear, though, I don't think he was lying. Like, he wrote in 1990. He did it with Dick Schaap. I'm sure they did it on the quick, and here's this story. And it makes for a much better, I went 0 for 21, 0 for 21. And then you find out, wait, you got a hit in your first. Not only did he get a hit in his first college at bat, he beat out a grounder to shortstop, which is just as good a story. Like, what was your first hit? Well, I beat out a grounder to shortstop. So 0 for 21 is cool, but that one works too.
You're responsible. I am not. I am going to call Bo Jackson a liar. And if you can't listen, if you can't take liberties with your own story, then whose story can you take liberties with? And that's what I feel like Bo did.
Stugotz is so right about 0 for 21 being better than I started out 2 for 5 against the Salukis. It's not the same thing.
What's your beef with the Salukis?
I'm just saying, it's a shitty story for Bo Jackson.
You have to go 0 for 5 against the Salukis.
He hit 400 and would have, if he had kept up that pace, he would have been a Hall of Famer, the best to ever play in his sport of 2 for 5. It's better to say 0 for 21 with 21 strikeouts.
All right, I do want to say, though, I talked to the shortstop, the guy who's playing shortstop for Southern Illinois that day, and he did describe the play in great detail and that he'd never seen speed like this heading down the line and blah, blah, blah. I know what you're saying, but it was still a great first hit.
What are some of the stories that people were thrilled to tell you about? Because I'm sure, as with all your books, you've talked to hundreds of people in order to get the stories right.
Yeah. All right. So my favorite is one of my favorites is he was playing He played the first night baseball game at the University of Georgia, his junior year at Auburn. And there's no video of this game. There's no audio recording of the game broadcast. Chip Carrier was broadcasting the game because he was a student at Georgia at the time. But it's Georgia-Auburn. Bo Jackson at the time is sort of a public enemy because he's being compared to Herschel Walker. And he's playing right field, and the fans are just giving him grief the whole game. And his first at-bat, he grounds out to second. And he returns to right field, and the fans are just crapping all over him. You suck, blah, 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 blah. His second at-bat, first night game at Georgia, he hits a ball that slams into the lights. And this is 39 days before The Natural comes out. It slams into the lights and falls down. Tommy Tomlinson, great writer, been around forever, told me it's the hardest hit ball still he's ever seen. He jogs back to right field, and this is at Georgia, sold out first night game. The fans stand and give him the bowing motion. His next at-bat, he hits another home run. His at-bat after that, he hits another home run. So it's 3 home runs in a row. His last at-bat, first night game at Georgia, he hits a double, and all the fans boo him.
Disappointed.
The last folk hero, the life and myth of Bo Jackson. Did he cooperate with you?
So, no. I sent him a bunch of my books early on, wrote him a letter. He called me one day. It was 2020, heart of the pandemic. And we spoke for about a half hour, and he was really lovely and really nice, and basically said, I don't mind that you're doing this, but I get asked to do these things all the time. So I'm just not interested. And then I got lucky. I think you would appreciate this, Dan, with journalism and all. Dick Schaap, when he wrote Bo's autobiography in 1990, after that, he donated all his notes, all the audio files, literally the audio tapes, to the Auburn University Library. And for the 30 years since, it's been sitting there unlistened to. And I was able to get all the audio cassettes, all the transcriptions, all of it. Most of it was never used in Bo Jackson's book. So here I'm sitting, researching, digging. And when someone says, well, here's 500 pages of transcripts from when Bo was 28, 29 years old, and here are all the audio files you can listen to. And that was, for me, sort of a game changer.
How much did Dick Schaap not use that you did use?
A lot. I would say of all that stuff, he probably used 30%.
And what did you discover in there that was unknown to you?
Oh, man. A really good one was there were all these sort of rumors that he beat the crap out of Kevin Seitzer when they were with the Royals. And he alludes to a teammate he got in a fight with. And he told this whole story. And I checked it out because basically one day Kevin Seitzer, Bo Jackson, they're hitting underneath the stadium in Kansas City. The other two guys in the hitting group with them are Ed Hearn and Bill Pacoda. So I spoke with Hearn about this at length. Kevin Seitzer at the time, third baseman, but kind of the clubhouse pest, always needling. They're hitting. Bo Jackson has to run off to change. He comes back, and Seitzer gives him crap about cutting in line. And Bo's like, shut up. Bo's hitting. Seitzer's giving him crap. Bo's like, seriously, you need to shut up. Seitzer keeps going. Bo leaves the cage, grabs Kevin Seitzer by the neck, lifts him up against the wall. And Bo Jackson has an arm that's like 5 times thicker than mine. And he's pinning him against the wall. And he's like, you do not mess with me. You do not. Are you? And the guys are running over. Coaches are running over, trying to pry Bo Jackson's arm off of Kevin Seitzer's neck as Kevin Seitzer is turning blue and his eyes are bulging out. And finally, they get Bo Jackson off. And Seitzer, can barely breathe. And he goes to the trainer's room. And the trainers are looking at Kevin Seitzer. And Bo Jackson takes a bat at his locker. He's just furious. And he's slamming the bat against his locker. And the wood is splintering all over. And Seitzer ultimately comes up to Bo and he's like, hey, man, are we good? Are we good? And Bo Jackson's like, we're not effing good, man. You do not freaking do that to me. You do not mess with me. And so little details like that, which aren't so little, were all over, just dripping out of this thing. It was one of the the best finds I've ever had.
Can you tell us, in the 30 for 30 that ESPN did that had a lot of myth telling, how much of the stories in there were true and what was not true?
I think I would say in the 30 for 30, almost all of it was true. What I think was missing, and that you get out of a book that you can't get out of a 40-minute doc, is the details. Like, just as an example, he climbs a wall in Baltimore. What I love about that play, by the way, is no one ever did it before and no one's ever done it since. Like, we've seen great throws, we've seen other things. No one's climbed up the wall. And
For those who do not know, the play you're talking about as an outfielder is he seemed to be running right up the wall. Like instead of crashing into the wall, he couldn't stop. He didn't have brakes, so he just ran right up the wall.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And if you put it on YouTube, if you just write Bo Jackson and wall, you can see it, and it's worth watching. And Joe Orslak hit that ball for the Orioles. And I talked to Joe, and he said that he did not realize until about 10 years ago that he was the one who hit that ball. He hit it, and he's running. He's just looking at the first base coach or instructions. He looks up. Bo Jackson has the ball. And years later, someone said to Orslak, that's crazy you hit that ball. And Orslak's like, what are you talking about? The other thing that's amazing, the Oriole players where the bullpen was behind that wall, and they recoiled because they thought Bo Jackson was coming over the wall. That's how high up Bo Jackson was. And then Willie Wilson was playing alongside Bo in the outfield. And Wilson said he had bets with different guys throughout Major League Baseball that at some point Bo Jackson was going to climb up the wall, because he said he saw him do it in spring training. And after that happened, he was calling all these guys saying, like, you owe me money, you owe me money, you owe me money. And the last thing I'll say about that play is I talked to a lot of guys on different Major League teams who said the day after, during batting practice all across the majors, guys were trying to do it. So like Eric Hansen with the Mariners told me he was trying to do it. Johnny Oates, I read an old clip, who was with the Rangers at that point, tried doing it. And they all just fell on their heads or their butts or whatever because nobody could do it. So the stories are real. It's the depth behind them that I really was going after.
What's your favorite of his childhood stories?
Oh, man. I would say there was, his nickname, his real name is Vincent Edward Jackson. And his nickname is obviously Bo, which is short for Boerhaag, which is short for Bohog. And when Bo was a kid, him and a bunch of his friends found a bunch of sticks. And for 3 days, they went to a neighbor's farm. And the neighbor had this enormous Boerhaag, which is just a hog, in a pen. And for 3 days straight, Bo and his friends tried killing the hog, which is obviously barbaric. And they took these bats, and for 3 days, they beat the crap out of it. And that was always this story that you heard. So I went to Bessemer, Alabama, and I went to the property where the hog had lived. And the farmer's dead, but I found the farmer's son. And he verified this whole thing and this whole story about Bo Jackson, how he became Bo. And Bo was one of 11 kids, and one of his brothers had been sent to reform school. And after this whole hog beating incident happened, Bo was terrified because they got caught. Bo was terrified that he was going to be sent to reform school because his brother told him about, you go to reform school and they rape you, and you don't want to go to reform school. And Bo had this nightmarish fear of going to reform school, and really beating the crap out of the hog, which gave him his nickname, led to him almost finding the straight and narrow path of sports, because he did not by any means want to go to reform school.
Why the hell would you beat the hell out of a hog? What is the matter with you?
He was, his childhood is insane. And I really mean that. He was at the time one of 10 kids in a house. His mom was a single mom. They had 3 rooms, no running water, an outhouse with a fly paper roof, a tar paper roof, excuse me. He wore his sister, not his brother, his sister's hand-me-down shoes to school. If they weren't available, he wore socks to school. He had a severe stutter. He was held back a grade. And when he was in high school, a teacher punished him for being bad, knew he had a severe stutter, by making him stand in front of the entire class and read a poem out loud, just to mock him for stuttering. What he overcame is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Jeff, did you get to the bottom as to whether or not he ever ran a 4.12 40? Because that would still be the fastest 40 time in NFL history, and as fast as Usain Bolt.
All right, it's crazy. He ran a 4.13.
What?
At Auburn. He ran a 4.13, clocked at Auburn. And here's where it even gets crazier. All right, he ran that on a pro day, but it wasn't his pro day. There were a bunch of scouts there. Not a pro day. There were a bunch of scouts at Auburn, timing guys. And they said, why don't you just run? He was an underclassman, and he was clocked at a legit 4.13. Here's what's even crazier. He goes to the Raiders in 1987. On grass, in pads, he runs a 4.19 40. Tom Flores does not believe it. They measure it off. He runs it again, and he runs a 4.17.
And what is another story that you could give us that when he asked you that, you were excited to be asked that? As you make the tour here on your new book, The Last Folk Hero, The Life and Myth of Bo Jackson, what's most likely to make you light up when it comes to details from his past?
Oh, man. I mean, there's so much. I just give you the quick buffet of how ridiculous an athlete he was, kind of gets me going. His first major league hit, by the way, his first major league at bat was against the White Sox, September 2nd, 86. He's playing for the Royals. Steve Carlton is on the mound. At the time, Carlton had won 321 games. It's a 7-pitch at bat that's beautiful. On the 7th pitch, Bo Jackson hits a grounder to second base. All right. Tim Hewlett's playing second. Russ Morgan's playing first. Jackson beats it out. Behind behind home plate is Art Stewart, the Royals head of scouting, and he clocks it. And he turns around and he says, "What did you guys get?" to the different scouts. And the different scouts were like, "I got it wrong. I got it wrong." And Art Stewart says, "Because I got a 3.6. And some other guy's like, "I got a 3.6. I got 3.6. It was the second fastest all time home to first clocking, only after Mickey Mantle running a 3.5 by a right-handed hitter ever. He took batting practice in Minnesota at the Metrodome, jumped in lefty. He was not a left-handed hitter and hit the second farthest home run in the stadium's freaking history, taking batting practice as a lefty. In high school, he won back-to-back Alabama State Decathlon championships. His second year, he did it on a sprained ankle, was so far ahead, he didn't have to run the last event, the 1500. The day after, in sweats, did it in sweats. The day after winning the State Decathlon championship, the baseball team needed a guy to pitch a game. Bo hadn't pitched all year. He struck out 13. He stole 90 of 91 bases in high school. I found the catcher who threw him out. It was a guy named Sam Doss from Jess Lanier. He said, "I just got a high fastball." The next at bat, after getting thrown out the only time in his high school career, Bo Jackson hit a home run, crosses home plate, and winks at Sam Doss, the catcher. Paul Bunyan. He really is. He's Paul Bunyan.
The most surprising part of that story is that Mickey Mantle was faster than him.
I've got new respect for the Mick.
No chance.
I'm thinking, honest to God, I agree with you. And I'm thinking it was the watch used to clock Mickey Mantle was probably tick, 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 tick.
Agreed. Yes. There's no way he's faster than Bo. There's no way. Right.
There's no chance.
Again, the name of the book, The Last Folk Hero, The Life and Myth of Bo Jackson. Everything that Jeff Pearlman writes about is interesting. Thank you, sir. We appreciate the time, as always.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thanks.
The praise continues to pour in for our award-winning show. It's very popular, and people always receive it with universal applause. Amin has decided to fix his headphones as we start, and this is one of the many reasons, loudly, that we are an award-winning show. If you want to lose most of your audience, Dan, keep letting Mike and Witty ramble about soccer. This is America. We don't care. More football, please.
Is that guy? We talked about hockey in Toronto. This guy has every right to complain.
But also, we are talking more football. It's just a different code. Yeah.
We are talking about all kinds of football, and we are a multi-ethnic show. For some reason, Amin was just shouting at someone on Twitter, "I speak Arabic."
I just don't get it. Like the guy's his counter to me explaining how to say Qatar is, I don't know. I've flown on Qatar Airways a lot of times. I'm like, how is that your bona fides?
Bona fides.
Right? This is what you're bringing to the table? Well, I've flown on that airline a lot, and they say it this way. I'm like, I speak the language.
But it's more that, even Qatar Airways has the recognition that most Western-speaking people can't say Qatar, right? Which is, it's just not a sound that we normally make in the flow of our speech.
Amin has been following, for example, Grant Wall is going to be part of our World Cup coverage. You'll be able to enjoy. We really have some of the foremost people. He's America's premier soccer journalist, and Witty and Mike Ryan are real experts on soccer. And Amin, because we'll Americanize everything, and because the rest of the world often objects to us Americanizing everything, Amin has found what happened with Grant Wall here recently. Journalists are in for a rude awakening about what they're about to cover if they think they're going to be able to be journalists in like they are in America.
Right. Like, so obviously, I support Grant. I support everyone who's out there covering the World Cup. You know, media has an important role. But there's a part of me that grew up in another country that is extremely amused by the shock. They deleted the pictures on my phone. Like, you're lucky they let you keep the phone, buddy. Like, it's not like it is here. It's very different. And
a benign photo he took.
Yeah, he took the background is he took a photo in the media room of this. What's like this welcome
it's like a slogan. It's like a welcome slogan.
And it was like some nice. He was like, oh, that's a nice thing that they did. So he took the picture, and the guy comes out of nowhere and says, "Now you're gonna have to delete that picture off your phone."
And that's one of several incidents that have happened already in Qatar before we've even started the World Cup. One is there was a Danish reporter who was literally told in the middle of a live hit, you need to stop recording, and they threatened to destroy his camera. Sam Borden of ESPN also relayed a story of filming a ritual outside of a sort of royal palace in Qatar, and also was asked to please stop recording, like, stop and delete it, please. So there's sort of a lot of people thought that Qatar would sort of do see, I've done it 4 times already. Like,
it's unnatural.
You've somehow made it sound like a Spanish word.
Really?
Yeah, the way you're doing it.
Okay. But either way, like, a lot of people thought that they would put on a face, that they would at least pretend to support journalist freedoms. And Grant actually also shared like this PowerPoint presentation of things that might not be allowed at the World Cup.
I like might.
Yeah, right. The word might is used several times in this presentation, that people thought that they would just sort of put on this, here's our face to the Western world for a month and we go back to doing what we do. But they're doing what we do even during the tournament. Not even the Russians did this.
They don't, because they don't have to. That's the other part I think that people may not understand is they're operating from an extreme position of power and privilege. Like, we don't need you for anything. One, we're richer than anything, right?
That's part of the whole exercise, though, isn't it?
Two is we got the world. What are you going to take it away?
Not now, yeah.
I mean, it's done. It's a wrap. So it's like they don't have to do anything. They don't have to do anything. And there is a feeling sometimes that people from the West and Western cultures come by and they kind of impose their way of life on other places. And so this is part of it. Like, I'm thinking about the picture that Grant took. Like, there's no way, if anything, it's positive for Qatar and for the World Cup and all that. But it's not about what he took a picture of. The idea is that, you're not going to do it. And you know why? Because I said so. Because we can do that to you, and you can't do shit about it. There's a level of that there of establishing. Don't think you can walk around here living an American life for this month. No, you're going to abide by our rules, even when they seem ridiculous and overly draconian for no reason.
But it's not for no reason. It's because in places where governments run with an absence of freedom, the control of information is not yours. You are not free to control information. The power of that belongs to the government, and what are you going to do?
What I mean by that, though, Dan, is that it would be easy to, like, if you think about, like, the spirit of the law. If the law is, like, we control information. It's like, but we don't give a shit if you take a picture of welcome to whatever, you know? Like, that doesn't really matter.
Forgive me, the sentence is too long. It shouldn't be we control information. It's a word too long. It's we control.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what it is, right? It's not about, hey, can we let this one slide or not? It won't bring about, like, the fall of their civilization. It's about, no, because I control, because I am.
No, but I mean, I understand your point, but part of this World Cup was them wanting to ingratiate themselves to the broader world. There's a geopolitical concern about it being a very small country with an enormous natural resource of oil that has all this money as a result, and they want to sort of put themselves on the map because they sometimes fear for their security because other countries around them don't really like them, and so they want to have some friends. And also, 4 years ago, the World Cup was in Russia. And Russia did not do as sort of out in the open. They might have, had people spying on Americans or spying on whoever the entire time, sort of underneath the surface. But the Fox broadcast was like 100 feet away from the KGB building in Russia. And there was no evidence that the Russians were out there doing things out in the open. The Qataris don't have any problem doing what they normally do.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand the measure of power. They've bought a lot of influence within FIFA. They've bought people within FIFA. I understand, but I always thought that FIFA might have assumed that, okay, yes, you want to have this thing and you want to put your culture in front of the world, but you'll do some things to sort of put on a good face for it. You'll allow people to drink more. The drinking problem is becoming a real thing where they had like these tents outside of stadiums where people can drink. The Qatari government asked them to put them even further away from the stadium because they don't want any drinking near the stadium. It's going to be really hard to get anything other than a Budweiser there, and a Budweiser at a select time in a select location because most of the country is dry. I think there was an assumption, from FIFA that there would be a lot more bending to the will of sort of Western culture than we've seen so far.
That's funny that you say that way, that there would be a naivete around business. Once you spend that way and can buy that corruptly, no one's telling you what to do on anything. You don't make concessions for anybody. Once everyone can be bought with your oil money, you will do what they say, and they will not even put on airs. They will not do you the courtesy that the Russians did of making it look like they care about your feelings. They bought it. What do you think they were buying? They bought it. They bought the whole thing. They bought it so they can run it, not to have someone else and someone else's sensibilities control that. And Amin will tell you, for as much as he cares about, and how could we not care about the idea, the ridiculous sentence of slave workers dying by the thousands to build stadiums, when Brazil plays, he ain't going to be thinking about that.
And it's, I was telling that to Witty yesterday in the break room. I said, this is my window into fandom. When we talk about Colin Kaepernick, when we talk about Deshaun Watson, when we talk about all of these social issues colliding with sports, Kyrie Irving, whatever it is, right? And people tell us, shut up and just I'm like, how close-minded are you? Blah blah blah. And then the World Cup comes along, and Mike is talking about the basically indentured servitude of thousands of Southwest Asian migrant workers, and I'm like, yeah, that's really bad. Also, what time does Brazil play?
Yeah, and I'm gonna watch as many games of this tournament as possible. And the rationalization I've done in my head is, well, if you don't watch this thing, if you don't participate in it, then you're sort of giving it over to these influences, right?
That's one hell of a...
it's a rationalization.
Right, no, it
you just want to watch it.
No,
you want to watch it,
I understand. Well, I want to watch it, but also, like, if you allow, the Russians and the Saudis and all these people to just buy this sport that you like, and you just say, all right, you can have it, it's yours, then you're sort of...
the terrorists win.
You're losing a fight. But I also completely understand there are a lot of people that wanted teams to boycott, that wanted teams to have stronger message than the ones that they've had, that are not going to watch the tournament themselves. I completely understand that position, but and you just wish that it didn't have to be this way. That the choices were not Russia and Qatar or nothing.
You're saying, but if nobody watches, they lose. You're saying if nobody watches, we lose.
Right, but like you're trying to mobilize 1.5 billion people across the world not watching this, and that's
not going to happen. But it's
right.
My rationalization, Witty, is I'm a piece of shit. An egoless one, though.
Yeah, yes, that's true.
Not a flying one, or an often flying one with many great miles and bonuses to show that you're a flying piece of shit. I want to get to your thoughts on what Kevin Durant did yesterday, because that was surprising to read, and I had to check multiple accounts to make sure that it's really getting frustrating right now to consume information, because I have to keep seeing and keep double checking to see if things are true. But before we get to Amin's analysis of Kevin Durant talking to Chris Haynes, in a way a superstar usually doesn't talk publicly about his teammates, I wanted to get to Chris Cote, presented by Sheets and Giggles, and just how many times you watched the mic'd up for sound Tua videos that have made their way.
Have we been doing a show today? Because I've just been watching it on my computer the entire time.
There's not even a ton to it, to be honest.
There's a lot to it. Are you kidding me? Dude, it is just so cool to see the swagger, to see him talking to Mike McDaniel, the players before the game. I mean, I know it's it's just like cotton candy for me for a Dolphins fan. With the way this offense has been, I think I joked about watching it 48 times. I watched it 33 times, literally, though. Gotcha. Literally 33 times.
It's good that you made the joke 15 more when you've watched it 33.
Well, 48 just sounds like more insane. 33 seems a little reasonable.
33 is still insane.
Yeah. It's a 10-minute video.
It is 9.5 minutes long.
Of not a lot.
Is the best of it him saying to McDaniel very casually, I want you to call the play that you think will score a touchdown? Like, what is the best of it? Or are you just excited because they punted 2 times in 3 games?
That was honestly, I was like, that can't be true. And then I looked it up. He's right. The Dolphins have punted twice in 3 games. My favorite part was honestly just him and Waddle and Tyreek Hill. It's the new big 3 down here, Dan. It is. We can officially say it. It can be said. They are the big 3. Yeah. It's the first big 3 we've had here since LeBron,
in
Bosh,
10 years.
And Wade. Yep.
I don't think it can be said yet. It's exciting.
Oh, skeptical Dan LeBatard.
No, it's exciting, and I'm enjoying Tyreek Hill, or what I assume to be Tyreek Hill, saying and going for the fights of why is Keyshawn Johnson on television with Tyreek. Tyreek Hill put that on Twitter. Why is Keyshawn Johnson on television? Keyshawn Johnson has been critical of Tua and has now, shaped and moved his opinion. But it's got to be, he's been healthy for 6 games. They've won all of them, but you're going to make them the big 3 based on 6 football games?
I mean, I'm half kidding, but it is interesting.
But in Miami, though.
Don't
but
back up.
I think the real conversation to have here is, are there now expectations for this Dolphins team?
Yes.
Of course.
That is the part
Trade
that
deadline.
scares me. I kind of want to just live in this space where people think this is just a fun thing. And because that once you start having expectations, then all of a sudden, so you're saying if the Dolphins right now, are they already at the point where if they make the playoffs but lose the first, that is a bad season?
I mean, it sort of depends on what their first round opponent is. If we sort of go by the odds,
let's say they lose the division, end up in Tennessee, first playoff game.
I would be disappointed if they lost in Tennessee.
They lost to the Titans, yeah.
I'm just saying, going on the road.
But I'll tell you what. This is the fun year. You're right, Chris. This is the fun, because next year, that's the bitch. Next year is when you get into this. Oh, they lost the first game. Oh, what's going on? What's wrong? And it ceases to be fun.
I want to just have this year of we're happy to be here.
Oh, but stop for a second. Let me stop you for just a second, because the Cleveland Browns had what the Dolphins began this season of expectations with last year, and they crumbled under it. The Dolphins have overcome it. They were expected to do something. They were talked about as a national team, not a regional one, all offseason long. This has been the enjoyment of expectations. I would tell you that unemotionally, viewing it, I will say that if these guys can stay healthy and they lose early in the playoffs because football's random in a road game, I'm like, oh no, they found a quarterback. They're exciting. This is going to be good, and I'm good with however this season ends. If one of these guys gets hurt, if Tua gets hurt again and we're having another one of these conversations about should he be out there, that's my concern with this team. The fact that they've given me the hope on electricity makes this season a success no matter what happens from here. Now, I know a lot of people want Super Bowl and want to go to Buffalo and win a road game when they might move this game in Buffalo this weekend because there's something called a Thundersnow.
The Thundersnow, Dan. Very exciting.
I did not know what Thundersnow was. The game
sounds terrifying.
It
sounds like a Game of Thrones character.
Sir Thundersnow.
Do you guys know what Thundersnow is? Does anyone know? Has anyone heard of Thundersnow?
I've never heard of Thundersnow, Dan, but it's very exciting and horrifying at the same time, right? Like we had the Patriots and Buffalo game last year where it was like 75-mile-an-hour winds in a blizzard, and the Patriots threw it like 3 times.
Yeah,
right.
They won that game.
There's supposedly 3 to 6 feet of snow for this game.
Oh,
and
I'm here for
elements.
I'm
here for it.
Thundersnow makes me think of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Batman and Robin. Thundersnow would be one of his minions, right? Thundersnow, attack!
The army of Schwarzenegger's minions. Now, this is not your Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze, is it?
No, it is Mr. Freeze. His minion is Thundersnow. Attack!
But he doesn't listen to him and he gets frustrated. Damn it, Thundersnow!
Thundersnow comes out and just does this clap. and snow and ice just starts flying.
And thunder.
Would one of you be kind enough to just explain to me from the internet the formal definition
More fun this way.
of what Thundersnow brings? Agreed. I just want to have yet more context because I believe Kevin Durant has unleashed Thundersnow upon the entire Nets organization and all of his teammates. And I do want to get to that story.
He did that to Oklahoma City. Thundersnow!
It says here, lake effect snow occurs when colder air blows over warm lake water. The air soaks up moisture from the lake like a sponge and creates bands of thunderstorm-like clouds that release extreme snow over strips of land in the direction the wind is blowing. There also are thunder and lightning seen from within snow.
Bands will make them dance. Thundersnow! Everybody chill.
The Kevin Durant quotes to Chris Haynes. I was surprised. You don't see this very much anymore. Not just the quotes, but the quotes given exclusively to somebody. I mean, where he is just torching his teammates. I cannot imagine how they feel, even though it's the truth, hearing this said out loud from him to Chris Haynes. Give them the quotes.
Okay, so this is the quote that's been making the rounds that everyone's kind of going nuts about. Look at our starting lineup. Edmund Sumner, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Nick Claxton, and me. It's not disrespect, but what are you expecting from that group? You expect us to win? Because I'm out there. So if you're watching from that lens, you're expecting us to play well because number 7 is out there.
That is separating himself from his teammates in a way that we all would separate him from his teammates. It's just still surprising to hear him say it out loud. These are bums. And say in the middle of it, no disrespect, but we can't win with this crew.
I don't respectfully. I think within the context of the article, of the interview, it makes a lot more sense. He's not saying, I can't win with these guys. He's saying, we need to temper our expectations about what success is because, we are not supremely talented. And the next thing he says after that quote, by the way, is, I'm really having a good time. I wish y'all could hear me talk during the game. If I got mic'd up more, people would stop asking me if I'm happy or not. I'm enjoying every moment I get to step on this effing court. And part of it is because I tore my Achilles and the pandemic. I didn't know if we were going to play again. I didn't know if I was going to play again. He's not saying, like the quote in a vacuum makes it seem like he's saying, man, how am I supposed to win with these guys? And what he's actually saying is, yeah, I get it. We are where we are. We're not supremely talented. We're not one of the best teams. But guess what? I'm loving every moment of it.
He's being reasonable. He's being honest. And I don't think anyone would dispute listening to this, and he certainly says it all the time, that Kevin Durant loves playing basketball. He just wishes that everything else that surrounded that basketball was probably gone other than the money and the fame. But the bullshit is what he wants gone. Basketball itself, if he could just play, my guess is Kevin Durant would be fun, would be happy, would be somebody who didn't seem like a sour, bitter person who was fighting everybody if it was just all about the play. He clearly loves to hoop, clearly.
You know what one of his objections or one of his reasons why he wanted to get traded, he says, we don't practice enough. He wants more practice.
And tougher practices.
And tougher practices, yeah. And more shell drills, more closeouts. And he said, you can ask Steve Nash. That's what I wanted. And again, I feel bad for him in the sense that I think he's very misunderstood. I think also he's responsible for the way he is understood because of how he carries himself, first of all in the media, second of all on social media. But there is a level of, it must suck for everyone to be telling you how you feel, right? It's just like, I know how I feel. How are you telling me how I feel? And to have that all the time, everywhere, it's got to be tiring. It's something that I think. Look how irritated I was at some dude trying to tell me how to pronounce Qatar. Like I speak the goddamn language. Now imagine more than I speak the language. I'm me. How are you telling me about me?
Kevin Durant must think all the time, you idiot, you think you have more expertise about who I am than I have about who I am. But yeah, the media does think that. And people on social media do think that they have more expertise. And if they're wrong about how he feels, judging him as unhappy because he makes a trade request, you know what they will say, like stugotz, you're lying.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can always be right about Kevin Durant. And that must get annoying to fight that because people are saying, how can you be happy? You seem perpetually unhappy. And he's saying, no, I'm happy when I'm playing basketball.
Yeah. And again, it's preposterous when you think about it, right? The idea that I'm going to tell you how you feel, which really what it is, it's like what's it called? A Rorschach test? When you're basically telling me how you feel. When you're telling me how I feel, you're actually just revealing how you feel.
Are there not bigger reasons why we think that, though? Because he's made big decisions, partnering with Kyrie, leaving to go to the Warriors, not being happy with the Warriors and going to the Nets. But there are things that we can psychoanalyze him on.
Whittingham, he can say that I'm happy no matter what, and we're allowed to say, holy shit, that's the most apocalyptic dumpster fire of his creation I've ever seen anyone create with his talent level. How could he possibly be happy? Look at the shit swirling around him. It's all flying. It's flying shit around him.
With wings.
It's like Bob Saget in that one movie. There's shit everywhere.
That's it. That is what his quotes to Chris. That's what they should have been. There's shit everywhere. That's it. It would have been the most accurate. They should wear on their uniforms as a new team name instead of Nets. All their merch should be
shit.
There's shit everywhere.
It's from Dumb and Dumber. I don't think anyone's seen that.
Oh, that's the one where it was like a prequel?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And Bob Saget is the dad of one of the girlfriends.
Of course you watched that.
This is a good movie.
Evidently, Mike Schur has heard that Meadowlark Media has a 3-part documentary coming out on Amazon Prime next week as part of our growing business empire, and he is trying to impress the bosses today. He is dressed very nicely. I asked him off air if he had a funeral today, and he's just trying to climb up our corporate ladder from stat of the day to bigger things. Welcome, Mike. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, but that's not why I'm in a suit. I'm in a suit because we're almost in the official Thanksgiving season, and I have prepared a Thanksgiving presentation for you all, and I thought that it sort of made sense. The suit befitted my role here today in presenting a Thanksgiving gift to my friends at Meadowlark Media. That's all this is.
The presentation is part of Stat of the Day. Should we start with Stat of the Day? Is it in the Stat of the Day?
Well, I'll explain it to you, Dan. Look, it's almost Thanksgiving, which traditionally is a time when we reflect on our lives, right? And we give thanks for our good fortune. It's also a time when we collectively ignore the fact that what we are celebrating is that a bunch of bloodthirsty Europeans just straight up stole an entire continent from the natives who had been living here for thousands of years. I apologize. I'm sorry. Billy Corbin somehow got a hold of my Google Doc and rewrote the intro. I apologize for that. The point is, Meadowlarkers, this year, what I'm grateful for, most of all, is you. All of you very fine people at Meadowlark Media. I'm thankful for Billy Gill, who's the only other person in America who still likes baseball. I'm thankful for Chris Cote and his irrational belief that it's probably fine that Tua is out there playing again. I'm thankful for Jessica, who mostly ignores my baseball stats and just stares at her phone, but every once in a while will look up just long enough to dunk on me for no reason. I'm thankful for Amin Al Hassan and his increasingly high-quality Liam Neeson limited fake, and Roy for his irrational belief that hockey is fun to watch. And I'm thankful to Tony for his irrational belief that There's Something Happening in Cincinnati is somehow an interesting football take.
It is.
I'm thankful to Juju for not humiliating me on the internet yet, and Chris Whittingham for being fancy enough to insist people pronounce bona fides correctly, but also somehow dirtbaggy enough to use the timer on his stove as an alarm clock. I'm thankful to Mike Ryan for his irrational belief that anyone in the world gives a shit about the University of Miami football team's past, present, or future. But most of all, I'm thankful for Dan LeBatard, who brought me into your family and then tricked me into signing a Scientology-esque billion-year contract, forcing me to show up bleary-eyed and exhausted every morning as an unpaid intern and deliver meaningless sports trivia. And then, once I've completed that job, he can suddenly say to me, "Hey, Mike, what are your thoughts about Uyghur Muslims and Kyrie Irving and anti-Semitism? And P.S., we're live on YouTube, so you better get this exactly right off the top of your head." And of course, I'm thankful for stugotz, because the second I start talking about any of that stuff, he tunes out and just goes hunting for Jets trade rumors on fake Adam Schefter Twitter accounts. So as we inch ever closer to the day we celebrate what amounts to a genocide perpetrated by European slave trading lunatics. Sorry, Billy Corbin broke into the document. I really should have password protected this. I have a Thanksgiving present for all of you. I now present the first annual Meadowlark Media Turducken.
What?
It is time for
Mike Schur
to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my voice.
Mike Schur.
Weekend Observations is brought to you by the Miami Heat Stadium Naming Rights Committee. Anyone interested in a 90-foot tall sign that says FTX Arena? Come on down to a Heat game. $20 and it's yours. Oh, and by the way, we learned our lesson and are proud to announce that next year the Miami Heat will be playing in Twitter.com Arena. Dan! For years we had to suffer through it. Terrible matchups, terrible games. We watched because it was all we had. I mean, what were we going to do? Spend time with our families? And talk to them? But in 2022, we get the Bills against Man Campbell and the High Flying Lions. We get the not actually any good, but somehow 7-2 G-men against Dak and CeeDee Lamb. And to finish it off, the New England Patriots take on the only good for 9 minutes a game, but they're the 9 minutes that count, Kirk Cousins. And Dan, make no mistake about it. Just like that.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving football is back.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving football. Football. I can only pray that this ends with Kirk Cousins screaming, "You like that?" directly into Bill Belichick's face. And that Belichick's expression never changes. Miami Heat. Draft lottery. Collision course.
Nice.
No.
What happened there? What happened there? What happened?
No.
Pat Riley.
Oh, no.
Trying to pay Jimmy Butler's $52 million 2025 salary with FTX's signature crypto coin. Collision course. Serious question for Jessica. Were you happy that your favorite team, Notre Dame, defeated Clemson? Or were you sad because your favorite team, Clemson, lost to Notre Dame? Serious question for Roy. Does it bother you that the Boston Bruins are 9 points up on the Panthers?
Yes.
Allowing me to gloat about hockey when I haven't watched a hockey game since the Whalers left Hartford.
Yes.
You know what the problem is with the Panthers, Roy?
What's that?
Not good enough on the forecheck.
God damn it.
Serious question for Chris Cote.
What's up?
What in the world possessed you to ask that guy if anyone has ever taken a dump in the Stanley Cup?
That's a good question.
Hey, Dan. Still happy you saved his job?
He's wandering
Tua
Tua
Tagovailoa. Do it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know what the T in Tua stands for, Dan?
I do not.
It stands for thank God we got Tyreek Hill. You know what the T in Tyreek stands for, Dan?
I do not.
It stands for Tua should thank God they got me. The Dolphins look good, but we know how this ends. Stugotz has Jalen Waddle on God Bless Football, and he tears his hamstring the week before the playoffs. I really don't like this new thing where all the Miami teams are good. In fact, it's kind of making me long for a simpler time in my life.
Oh!
And now it is time to take a
Amazing.
trip down memory
It is
lane.
a turd.
Here's your
ducking.
guy
Mike Schur.
with Back in My Day.
Rivalries!
Yes.
As a child in my native New England, raised in the mean streets of suburban Connecticut, I had an important choice to make. Half of my town supported the Yankees and half the Red Sox. My father, himself a product of the mean streets of suburban Connecticut, felt strongly that one should never support the establishment, which to him meant the Yankees. Rooting for the Yankees, he told me, was like rooting for U.S. Steel. That's how old I am, folks. U.S. Steel was in that analogy, which is a reference even Greg Cote can enjoy. My life as an early sports fan was simple. Back in my day, I knew who I was rooting for and against. I hated the Showtime Lakers. I hated the Yankee Pinstripes and their corrupt leader, George Steinbrenner. Banned for life from baseball only to somehow weasel his way back in and oversee a dynasty? Outrageous! If you cheat, you should be banned. End of story. Unless you're a Patriots coach or quarterback, in which case it's all a big misunderstanding and the system is rigged. That's what rivalries are all about, because rivalries bring you clarity of purpose. But nowadays, I find that my vitriol and bile is being directed all over the map. Frankly, I blame the TV networks, constantly trying to drum up antipathy for more and more teams, pitting the Warriors against the Clippers, pretending the Phillies have it in for the Blue Jays for some reason. The Dodgers used to hate the Giants, end of story. Now every time they play the Astros, it's billed as a grudge match. Piffle! The Dodgers and Astros are not rivals, folks. One postseason loss to a bunch of trash can bangers does not a rivalry make. Texas used to only hate Oklahoma. Notre Dame used to only hate Army or whatever. All this realignment and expansion is destroying these once proud blood feuds. My beloved Celtics used to hate the Lakers. Now the media tells me it's the Heat who should get my dander up. And the sad thing is, it's working. I have come to loathe Tyler Hero and his dumb haircut. I despise Jimmy Butler and his ridiculous haircut, and Max Bleeping Strus and his absurd beard. This appears to be mostly about hairstyles for me. I recoil at the mention of Heat culture, that cockamamie snake oil that Pat Riley has bottled and sold to rubes like Mike Ryan, who greedily gulps it down. Do I hate the Heat because they're a bunch of cocky jagweeds overseeing a cult full of googly-eyed parakeet Cortez-type acolytes? Or do I hate them because the media has artificially raised my ire with its insatiable thirst for ratings? I honestly can't even tell anymore. The fact is, I've come to see the Heat as my enemy, and I don't have time for another enemy. My dance card is full. The Heat used to be nothing to me. They were benign, generic. They used to be an afterthought, no different than the Baltimore Orioles. Which reminds me, top 5 1990s baseball players who were never on the Orioles, but you would swear on your life they were at some point on the Orioles.
Oh my God. I got to write these down.
This is top 5. He used Pipple.
Top 5 1990s baseball players who were never on the Orioles, but you would swear on your life they were at some point on the Orioles.
Okay.
This is going to be great.
OLI, John Jaha.
Oh my God, he wasn't?
No. OLI number 2, Tony Graffanino.
Get out of here. Graf.
Never on the Orioles. Number 5, Walt Weiss. Number 4, Ray Durham. Number 3, Cecil Fielder. Speaking of Cecil Fielder, it's time for the stat of the day.
Start of the day.
Wait a minute.
Start of the day.
Whoa.
It is your start of the day. Start of the day. Start
Doing
of
all
the
the
day.
show bits.
It is your start of the day.
Turducken.
Start of the day.
Shit.
Start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day. Start of the day.
they have wings?
It is your start of the day.
Shits was brought to you by Sheets and Giggles.
Both Cecil and Prince Fielder finished their careers with exactly 319 home runs. Both had a season with a home run total in the 50s. They had a season with a home run total in the 40s, and 4 seasons with a home run total in the 30s. For each of them, exactly 40% of their hits in their career went for extra bases, and exactly 22% of the balls they put into play were line drives. They both had exactly 97 two-out home runs, which means they both had exactly 222 home runs with less than 2 outs. They also both had exactly 49 fourth-inning home runs, 29 fifth-inning home runs, and 18 ninth-inning home runs. Those stats are courtesy of MLB.com and Sarah Langs, which I note here because I am an industry professional who takes pride in my work.
Holy shit, that's an amazing stat.
Yeah.
That is.
We don't have time to talk about it because we got to get back to the top 5 list.
Thank you.
Top 5 1990s baseball players who were never on the Orioles, but you would swear in your life they were at some point on the Orioles. Number 2, Tony Womack.
Get out of here. He played everywhere, Womack.
And the number 1 guy who was never on the Orioles, but you would swear on your life was at some point on the Orioles, Danny Darwin.
What?
You have floored Chris Cote with your stat.
I mean, I don't believe you. I do believe you, but I don't. That's just ridiculous.
Right.
We don't have time. We have to get back to the back in my day. Rivalries are okay to a point, but too many of them means they're not even rivalries anymore. Plus, I don't like this feeling, folks. The slow, insidious creep of manufactured tribalism spreading through my soul in search of ever more teams upon which to wish ill. Back in my day, you had one team you hated, and that was enough. Surely the last thing we need these days is more squabbling, more strife, more ways for us to be pitted against one another. I say we return to the halcyon days of one team, one rivalry. My name is Michael Schur, and I hate the Yankees, Lakers, and Dallas Cowboys because that's how it was back in my day.
I mean, this guy's good.
Wow.
This guy's good.
I also really hate the Heat. Eat shit, man. I hate you. Also, real quick, bonus stat of the day. Back in my days, delivered by Mike Schur this month. 2. Back in my days, delivered by Greg Cote this month. 1. And now back to weekend observations.
Holy shit!
God, it's not over yet.
Matt Ryan can scoot. The Celtics are better
Yeah, they're good.
without Ime Udoka. Justin Verlander, 4th Cy Young. You know why he won it, stugotz?
Why?
Because he finally did it in the World Series. Which means he only has 1 Cy Young in my personal record book. Sandy Alcantara, Cy Young. Now do it in the playoffs. I'm just kidding. He'll never pitch in the playoffs. The World Cup starts this week. Soccer might be dead in America, but it's alive and well in Qatar. A horrifying hellscape of human rights violations and forced labor. This isn't even Billy Corbin writing this, it's just me. I mean, seriously, FIFA. The hell are you doing? Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, that was the Meadowlark Turducken.
An annual tradition.
Amazing, man.
More work from Mike Schur.
Dan's going to ask you to do one for Christmas.
John Jaha. Tony Womack is the one that threw me off.
We will never
Never
fire
on the
you,
Orioles.
my friend. You will never be fired. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
We're all going to the bucket of death, and there are consequences now. We all did the draft earlier this week. I got lucky because I was drafting early on something, and a punishment that would have been something that would have enraged my wife, which is somebody stays over at Dan's house.
I was going to choose it.
We would have had fun.
I was so close.
Yeah,
Again,
we would have been drinking.
You guys would have had fun. Yes, that's nice. Again, enraged wife wouldn't have wanted any of you staying in our home.
Don't project onto her.
You know what I think this is? This is Dan being enraged, and he's trying to use Valerie as a meat shield right now.
Yeah, yes, you are.
You think she'd want you staying in the guest room?
Absolutely. I'm a
fun guest.
Yeah, I'm a delightful house guest. No ego, though.
I'll bring a couple games over.
Regardless, I was able to spend a night at my house gaming the system. Stugotz had his eye on Make Stugotz's Drive before a show one day, but somebody got to it before
It was Chris Cote. I'm so upset with him. I can't believe he chose that.
I live right near you.
Well, not that close.
It's like hop on 75. It's like 10 miles up the road.
Chris, you're going to go 30 minutes north just to go 2.5 hours south.
There wasn't that. I'll just leave like 40 minutes early one morning.
But Stugotz would get to leave 0 minutes early. He can leave at his regular time.
I just was looking at the list, and I don't want to dress up like a, I like what I like.
No, but Dan is now sleeping over his own house. I mean, he doesn't have to do anything.
Well, Dan should have gone for the bit and not did that.
I do think for the future, there needs to be a new rule. You can't select any punishment that is your life already. Right? So Jessica wanted the gluten-free one.
Well, Dan got it. Dan got the glutermo.
Yeah, Dan actually did all the cheating.
He didn't lose anything.
Yeah, you're not doing punishment.
I'm willing to switch with Dan. I'll sleep at his house and he drives to Parkland.
You guys go ahead and say I don't have to do anything the day I am dressed like a minion or the day that I'm dressed like whatever else it is that was selected.
You're dressed like one of Ben Stiller's minions from Globo Gym in the movie Dodgeball.
You're kind of into that though, admit it.
I have a question for you. If one of us had to sleep over your house,
like
who
this
would
game.
Valerie be most comfortable with one of us sleeping there?
It's got to be me. No ego though.
I would think me.
I'd be
but,
fun.
Yeah. I would think Whittingham, actually.
No. Yes.
Witty would be like,
Clean
all
the
right.
house.
With the murderer thing.
Witty
though.
would make the bed. And
I just got out of the kitchen with Bob the engineer, who was cleaning up after you guys yet again.
Bob, that's an upset. You choose
No,
Bob.
I'm
This guy's
not-
cheese,
I'm
man.
I'm not choosing
fix
Bob.
anything, Bob.
But
I mean.
Whittingham being clean is something that is welcome because you guys are a pack of Wolverines. And Bob, the engineer, every day is cleaning up because he was just in there. He was looking into the fridge and he was clearly talking to himself. And I'm like, Bob, how is that conversation with yourself? And he's like, they always leave the chips open and they go stale.
Sounds like my wife.
Oh, no.
Go to Bob.
If you select something good from this bucket, and there's very little good in the bucket, Greg Cote has the swap helmet, so you can only be so happy. Before we get to the bucket of death, a couple of things that we want to tell you about. First, today is Give Miami Day, and there are a lot of people doing a lot of good things locally, charitably, and if you go to givemiamiday.org, you can help in a very easy way if you have some extra money. GiveMiamiDay.org. It's all of the charitable efforts going on in Miami, or many of them, I should say, and it's an easy way to help people. GiveMiamiDay.org. Also, our World Cup coverage is about to start, whether you want it or not, whether you want to be the Americanized, I only care about Sunday football and not the world's football. And Meadowlark Media and us are doing a variety of things to cover the World Cup. Whittingham, where can people get stuff that we're doing?
All kinds of platforms, Dan. So on Sunday is the World Cup opener. Actually, the two kinds of football do not overlap. 11 a.m. kickoff on the opener between Qatar and the Ecuadorian national team. That's an 11 o'clock kickoff on Sunday. And then starting on Monday, the USA begin the World Cup campaign against Wales. Mike, Ryan, and myself are going to be covering that live on YouTube after the game concludes. It'll be around 4 p.m. Eastern. So actually, we'll be doing a post-game show throughout a lot of this World Cup. It'll actually replace the post-game show here on the podcast. We're calling it Meadowlark Media's Morally Abhorrent World Cup coverage. And so we're going to be doing that. We have a slew of other podcasts as well. Football with Grant Wall with myself and Grant Wall will be continuing throughout the World Cup. The Cooligans are already part of the LeBatard and Friends Network. We'll be doing a ton of coverage on their podcast. We have a couple new podcasts as well. One with the recently retired Ashlyn Harris of the U.S. Women's National Team, along with her partner, Ali Krieger. They'll be doing a great show together. Brendan Hunt, who plays Coach Beard in Ted Lasso, will be doing a podcast alongside Rebecca Lowe that we are co-producing along with our friends at Apple. So
we're big time.
Tons of coverage for the World Cup. Check it out wherever you get podcasts and on the YouTube page, LeBatard and Friends.
That's a lot of pods for soccer, but I am told that Wales is sneaky good. Am I right?
They've got a good chemistry about them. They're a team that has not made the World Cup in 58 years, and I'm
good chemistry about them.
No, they do.
No, they're sneaky good. I'm telling you,
they're like
Wales.
a club team as a national team. They've been together. It's the same group that has made history. They didn't make a major tournament from 1958 to 2016. They qualified for the Euros. They qualified for the Euros again. This is their first World Cup again since 1958. Could pose the U.S. a real problem.
When the goalkeeper has a shutout, do we say he saves the whales?
You knew it as it was coming out of your mouth. You knew it.
Chris Cote and I are doing a podcast called Whales.
Hey-oh.
Where's the Grim Reaper?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, man. I could go for a KFC bucket
Favoritism.
right now, by the way.
It is sponsored by KFC. Tony's going to be the first one headed to the bucket here. He can throw back everything after the first draw except the black bucket of death, or the black helmet of death.
We should put one chicken leg in that bucket every time.
Oh, man.
What'd you get, Tony?
He's got his Jags.
I've
He's
got
got
my
his
Jags.
beloved Jags that he thinks are good.
No, they're
and-
bye.
Jags
They
are on a
gotta
bye.
Wow.
Congratulations,
Look at
Tony.
them coming through again.
They did it again.
Another
swap helmet.
They've only come through 3 times this season.
4.
All right, let's see here. A little rummage.
Yeah, Greg's got the swap, right?
No face mask on this. 15 yards. Cardinals.
They are a 8-point dog at home against the 49ers.
I'm going to put it back. I'm going to go for a face mask this time. All right, field face mask. All right. Bengals. I guess I'm keeping it.
They're a 4-point favorite at the Steelers.
Pick for Billy.
All right, pick it for Billy. We got to watch Billy. Yeah. Mr. Commissioner's lost a suspicious few amount of times.
Yeah, he didn't have any picks in the Grid of Death punishments draft yesterday.
Just know. I'm
Real
on to you.
chicanery.
I'm on to you. What is this? Oh my God, the fine bucket plus death.
So he immediately
How much
dies.
is in there?
He profits.
He immediately
there's
dies.
like $13 in there.
That's not enough.
No, it's more than $13. It's about $50. Let's move on. Tony's counting it.
So he's keeping it?
What
Right.
if
No,
Billy
it's not
doesn't want
50.
that?
Instant death. It's instant death.
If I keep it.
Yeah, no, it's
If he
instant
keeps
death.
it.
You don't get the. There's not a.
There's a $16 in it.
That's not a choice, right? It's instant death. As soon as you pull it, you have
No,
to.
there's a choice.
No, there's always a choice.
No, there's not always a choice. What are you talking about?
One helmet. That's not the helmet.
Who are you making? Like,
I know, but I'm pretty sure he's right, though. I'm pretty sure.
No,
it's
this is. I mean, we can
Sorry
check
for
with the
being
guy.
right.
We could check with Billy, but
Billy's going to want to know how much money's inside, and then
I'm
he's going
pretty
to
sure
rule
it's
on
only
it.
the black helmet of death that has that
Yes,
rule.
it is.
Chris, go ahead and put it back.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
I mean, Dan
correct.
said that on the front. You said it on the front
Yeah,
end.
but I forgot about the fine bucket.
Oh.
I don't think that's
We'll
correct.
have to clarify the rule.
Ravens.
We have to clarify the rules.
Ravens are a giant favorite against
We'll
the
see.
Panthers at
If
home.
Billy rules, then I'll keep that helmet.
I like we have to clarify the rules. Like there's some library somewhere that has
We got to go to the bylaws.
And I love that Billy, who this is for, is going to get to decide whether he gets to keep that helmet or not.
Don't tell him the second
All
helmet.
right, my first poll is the 49ers.
They're an 8-point favorite at home against the Cardinals.
All right,
on the
I'll keep
road.
that.
On the road against the Cardinals.
I'll keep that, and I'll pick for Mike as well.
When you talk to Billy, Chris, do not tell him who pulled the helmet or who it's for.
The Tampa Bay Bucks is the first pick. They are on a bye, so I will keep them for Mike.
Okay.
All right, it's my turn.
So Cody's going to be able to choose and steal
He has
from
two buys
one of
right
the
now.
bye helmets.
The Dallas Cowboys.
Or the
Playing the Vikings.
The Cowboys are on the road at Minnesota. They're a 1.5 point favorite.
Road favorites at Minnesota, 8-1.
Is the game 1 o'clock?
No, 4:30.
Ooh.
We'll be all right. We'll be all right.
Ari went back in.
And he grabbed the Vikings.
Grab the Vikings. There it is.
Ah, damn, Roy.
Oh, Roy
Have
is
some faith, Roy.
despondent.
Who's picking for Smetty here?
That is something when Roy is in a
Roy's gonna pick for Jess.
position where he's taken a team that's 8-1 and he doesn't want the helmet at home.
I mean, Kirk Cousins. The Kansas City Chiefs.
Keep it.
That Chargers.
The Chiefs are at the Chargers. They're a 6-point favorite.
All right, I'm keeping that for Jess.
See, Roy, you got to do the heady play, which is you keep that for yourself and you give Jessica the Vikings one.
I already declared it.
He
though.
did
Yeah,
already
once you declare, you can't
I'm with you,
undeclare.
Amin.
And he's not quite
Yeah.
as shifty as you are.
Oh, a good rummage. Rummaging.
Oh, that bucket.
You can see some of the helmets, can't you, man?
The bucket has some stuff on the side. It says mac and cheese. It says tenders. It says fries. I'm so hungry.
All right, I got a helmet. Oh my God, it doesn't have a face mask. Carolina Panthers.
13-point dog on
Bye.
the road.
See ya.
They're the worst pick you could have picked in there that wasn't death.
Okay. Let me find a face mask. I found one.
Oh,
Wizard of Oz.
Lions, Tigers, Bears. Oh my!
I got a ruling from Billy. I wrote to him, if someone pulls the fine bucket plus death helmet, can they put it back if the money is only $16? He wrote, yeah.
No.
What do you mean? I didn't give
shouldn't
any
have put that-
context.
You shouldn't have put that qualifier of the $16.
No, dude, I'm telling you, I've gotten that before, and I
You're-
was like, how much money's in there? Like, you guys are wrong.
Your
That's
wording
always been
is-
an option, I'm telling you.
Stugotz, that's a bye for you. The Jags are on a bye, so they count as a tiger.
No,
do
they
they
don't.
not. They count as a big
No,
cat.
it's a
Jaguar does.
A jaguar is not a tiger. What are you guys doing? What are we doing?
I
here?
had the
Wait,
the
but
Bengals.
Tony has the Jags.
I know, but I had the Bengals last week, and they're a
Yeah.
big cat, and I took them on a bye.
The Bengals are tigers. It's a Bengal tiger, not a jaguar tiger.
Well, have the
Okay.
Dolphins then. I mean,
Like saying a cheetah is a tiger. Get out of here.
I got the Packers.
Wizard of Oz.
The internet says Jaguars are closely related to tigers.
They're good.
All right, I'm good.
He has picked the Packers. The Packers
Tonight.
are tonight's game. You're just going to throw it back?
I don't trust them.
Okay, that's fine. I don't know why Obama made an appearance there.
Weird.
You're throwing back the Packers at
weird
home.
one.
At home, no, I don't trust them.
And don't care who they're playing.
I don't trust them.
I got it.
They're playing
I
the
got it.
Titans. I
What
mean.
is this?
That's a golden
What a
helmet of life.
throwback.
of
What
life.
a throwback.
Congratulations.
Tell Dan to eat it.
I won't.
helmet.
He'll do that.
The golden helmet of life.
This helmet has been through some shit.
I
Look
know,
at it,
right?
man.
It's beaten up, isn't it? I got the Bears. The Bears are at the Falcons. 3.5-point
Justin
dog.
Fields, Dano.
Fields is playing so well.
He's red hot.
That is a classic. No one knows what's going to happen game.
He's throwing it back. Wow.
Tony's disappointed in me.
Bears
He
on a
would've-
streak.
I got the Commanders.
On fire, the Commanders. The Green Lizard.
I don't want this.
Road favorites
Yes,
at the
you do.
Texans.
Okay, at the
That's an
Texans.
upgrade, yeah.
I mean, how confident can I possibly be in that?
Taylor Heineke, the lowest graded quarterback by Pro Football Focus.
Winner, Dan. That's all you got to worry about.
Bears, then Commanders. Woof.
Yeah, that's been my whole season.
And now you get to sleep at your own house.